Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of the French Bishop Chesscast. I am joined here by David, aka Chess Chopin, and Master Chess Dojo. I am one of the hosts, Rogan Joe Sloan, and today we'll be talking about all the chess news of the day. Good evening.
Good evening.
John?
Thank you, Rogan. I did want to compliment David on the opening music composition. I thought that was brilliant, nice and short and sweet. I actually thought about the last time I actually saw someone composing, just to bring in a quick story, because everybody loves my stories, walking through Karlsruhe's Park on 84th and East End Avenue. I ran across Paul McCartney walking toward me. This was April 12th of whatever year the Beatles signed their music over to Apple. And that afternoon, I was teaching chess at Chapin, which is the school across the street in the park. And at that moment, I see him, he's walking toward me and he's obviously whistling to himself. Got his lips moving in a whistling fashion, but I can't hear anything. So I'm thinking, what in the world, right? And as I'm passing by him, and I let him pass over my right shoulder, like no one in New York disturbs celebrities, especially someone like Paul McCartney. And I decided, wait a minute, I actually have a camera in my pocket, because in those days, the cell phones weren't that good. I turn on the little pocket digital Sony camera that I had, and he turns around, like he's walking away from me. He turns around and puts his hand up and says, "No pictures." Like outdoors, you can hear this tiny little beep of my camera whirring, which I thought was very strange. And I thought musicians such as yourself have far better hearing and better attuned sound capabilities than I think anyone else. I know Michael Jackson may have had some similar. David, do you know that this is a common thing among musicians?
Maybe not.
But it was just so profound, because I understood that Michael Jackson could hear imperfections in the sound acoustics in a stadium when he would go there for sound tests and things like that. But Paul McCartney doing that to me, it was crazy. And of course, everybody afterwards says I should have taken the picture anyway, because bodyguard, I could see his bodyguard actually passed me first. I didn't think anything was up, because he was about 5 or 6 feet in front of him. But I could see the bodyguard on the other side of him when he's waving his hand at me going, "No pictures, please." And I'm like, okay. But what am I going to do? Take a picture? You
could also take a picture without sound. So
I think at that moment I was so stunned that he turned around that I just didn't realize it. But and then later I was thinking that when I thought I couldn't hear his whistling, because your opening sequence sort of reminded me of his whistling, but I didn't hear it, obviously.
Nice.
Whatever he was doing, whatever he was composing as he was walking through the park with his voice, mouth, whatever, or putting it together, putting his whatever arrangement together, I just thought it was very strange that he probably heard it, but I couldn't. Anyway.
Yeah,
we were going to
amazing analysis by David. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
But Beethoven became deaf at a later age, and he did very well. So there might be something to this that you get when you're a musician. I don't know. Anyway, let's get on to let's segue nicely to our other stories of the day.
We want to congratulate Hikaru on marrying Atusa to a small crowd of family and friends. We don't necessarily know the exact location or anything like that they were married. At least I don't. I did not look into it that deeply, but she's been in Los Angeles for some time teaching chess. And his natural movement to Los Angeles apparently must have been connected to this. But it
would be a little bit weird if we knew exactly where he's getting married. I feel like
after the fact,
realms between stalker and
after the fact, they didn't even say they got married. Let's say at the observatory or anything like that. Well, Los Angeles, where you see the opening sequence, you see a sequence of them dancing in La La Land, for example, outside the observatory area. But meanwhile,
so we can only expect any of their future children to be GMs. It's the natural thing of life, isn't it?
No pressure.
Apart from all the with how many examples do we have of this? The only one I know of is Anna Kramling, whose 2 parents are GMs.
Yeah, but
bit of a legacy to live up to, isn't it? Yeah, I know.
I know she has the ability to become a WGM as Atusa. I believe Atusa might be a WGM.
Yeah, but I was meaning the only case of 2 GMs being parents that I know of. I wouldn't say she was. I wasn't saying she was. I know my English is very interesting to listen to. Okay.
Right.
Sorry, we're going to edit this bit out.
Sounds good.
Yeah, amen.
Meanwhile,
back at the ranch,
we also have, as it turns out, not that many upsets, but we had some close calls in the World Cup this weekend, which I'm happy about.
Fresinet went through.
Went through. He's on a collision course with
very smooth
Anish Giri.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to see their match. And
Aryan Tari went 2-0 against his unfortunately paired opponent, as he has a collision course with Magnus Carlsen, his team compatriot. So I felt that was a rather unfortunate. I don't know if these pairings were drawn entirely at random, but to have to play your own second place teammate for the Norwegians, to have him eliminated right away is pretty unfortunate. One way or the other. One Norwegian is going down.
Yeah,
as it turns.
I'll put my money on Magnus.
It's a little early to say that Aryan has a chance, right?
I mean, come on, it's Magnus. I mean, I'm going to put my faith in. He deserves a little bit of blind faith after all this time, And
Ivanchuk is playing the Chilean Grandmaster Viagra.
Yeah,
who deserves.
Don't even blame you for that one.
Who deserves?
That is a name.
He deserves a leg up in this cycle.
Guillermo Hernandez, and then so, some name that sounds suspiciously familiar to
Pfizer. Yes.
Viagra.
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 We've got a European here.
He deserves a sponsorship if anyone ever did.
Oh, I think he's going to win against Ivanchuk.
You think he's going to win against him? Yeah. Is he? I'm going to take Ivanchuk in this battle. There's no way Ivanchuk's going to lose in the first round that he plays to whether the guy has Viagra or not. He's going down. He's
not sure if it's a good thing. Not sure if it's a good thing. It's a blood thinner.
Yeah, but I'm glad no one else caught my metaphor there. Meanwhile, Jordan Vanfree's coming into the mix against the Egyptian Grandmaster Ahmed Adli, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's a very talented young man. The Egyptian Grandmaster has his hands full. Peter Svidler, of course, is going to be playing another attempted rising Indian star, Puradek. I'm not even going to make an attempt at his first name.
I thought Anish Giri was going to play against Fresinet.
He has to get through Abasov first.
Oh.
So, Fresinet is still on course, but he has one more small hurdle in the form of the Azerbaijani
Actually, I don't know that player, but
Abasov.
Oh, it's pretty high rated.
He is 2670, indeed. It's a very close call. Two-time French champion has his hands full. And honestly, I really enjoyed Fresenet's commentary, I think. Chess not long. He has a good sense of humor. And we have, I actually thought that Salam Saleh, the Emirati chess player, he has made it through with a rather unknown pairing of from whatever country, I can't quite tell, Ethiopian, often a young Ethiopian. Demchenko did not survive. I think that is a serious upset. Demchenko lost. Anton, the Russian grandmaster who represents Slovenia, lost to a relatively unknown player from Peru.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, most of those players in the first round, some of them, they're playing the World Cup and they're going to play it once in their lifetime. So they're just going to chuck everything they have. They're not going to hold back any preparation and they will try. And sometimes you get some upsets.
And it is a well-known phenomenon that most upsets do happen in the earlier rounds of these events where there is a lot of energy to be spared,
Absolutely. When they first have the initiative and the momentum, the motivation on their side, they should be great for the most part. Like that was one of the few very cool upsets in a sense, in a way. And of course, we have our usual suspects. Grishik is coming in, Vidit is coming in. We don't know who Vidit is going to be playing just yet, as we're doing this before the tiebreak day. Etienne Bacro has made it through, thankfully. I'm happy for him. I can remember when he was an aspiring young prodigy for France before many of the other current French players.
He was top Bacro, in the early 2000s.
What was that? He was top.
He was top 10 player, Bacro.
Yes, he was. He was quite up there. Axel Bachmann. I can't remember who was saying Axel Bachmann has his hands full with Nihal Sarin. And aside from that, Many other players
Ray
don't
Robson is
necessarily.
going to play against Alexander Fier. That's an interesting pairing.
Oh, Ray Robson.
Ray Robson is coming in as part of the top 50. It seems as though there were, Ray Robson.
Born to be a baseball star.
I think Ray Robson is probably one of the most talented puzzle solvers ever, to a great extent. It's like he won the chess.com puzzle rush so many times, along with his compatriots Andrew Tang and Jeffrey Zhang, and those guys, the young stars of just defeating the puzzle. He just had to create more puzzles for these guys, like you wouldn't, keeping them on their toes. I think the whole of Puzzle Rush is dedicated to that generation of players.
And we have Duda versus Cordova.
Yeah, Emilio Cordova.
That was a good upset over Timur Gareev. I know Shalakai is going to be very unhappy with that. And Shalakai on his former streams, Chris, unfortunately, often praised Timur Gareev's creativity and initiative, but it looks like the Peruvian Grandmaster, I guess Peru has 2 upsets coming through. And you were talking about another one, I think, too, David. Or is
Good
that
on our
women?
Peruvian pal, Must have been on the good stuff.
If Cordova gets past Duda, that will be very impressive.
Yeah.
Very,
Cocaine
very
joke.
impressive.
Nobody cares. Okay, I'm trying here, guys. There's Timur Rajabov is up. There we go. We got Timur versus
Erdos.
Victor Erdos. Yeah, that's also a very famous player.
Hungary has quite a number of really good, strong players.
And then there's Niels Grundelius. He did a very nice episode on the Perpetual Chess podcast versus Antipov, which is a Russian fellow.
Where there's an Antipov, there must be a Pov. Anti-point of view, anyone? Anti-point of view?
Yeah.
No, as opposed to having a point of view, the anti-point of view.
I was trying to get my head around it, but it just didn't work.
Eric Izey is playing Azarov. We have Fedoseev coming in against Mr. Pichak. Am I saying that? Pichach?
I have no idea.
I know the last one is a CH sound.
Yeah, we have a European, for a reason. Come on.
Mark Paragua. Let me get that out of the way and you can edit it out. Mark Paragua's niece is coming to our school in the fall. She's joining us in our classes. And Mark Paragua was a great chess teacher here in New York City. He's been living in New York City for quite some time. It's a decade or so, maybe 20. It's unfortunate that he didn't make it past Pichak. It's very sad. But Vasya Lagrave is coming in to do some battle here with another player that barely got by. 1.5, I think, is just squeaking by to a certain extent. 2-0, we're talking domination. Sindarov. That's like a nice little...
I know. These Russians have got,
What was the name of the villain
Russian.
in the Heroes movie?
What Heroes movie?
The animated Heroes competition. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
Remember Mr. Incredible, The Incredibles. Sindarov was the villain or something along those lines. We have the Uzbek chess prodigy, Yakubir Sindarov, coming through with a 2-0 score, dominating his opponent. Now that's the way it should be done.
Boris Gelfand is one is through to the
47th. He squeaks by, literally by, to play Ferenc Berkis. Fatso Berkis. Apparently, Ferenc's nickname, as I was pointing out to chess coach Andres in his stream this morning, that I thought he was rather slender, but they pointed out that in Hungarian it's Fatso, which is a tough thing to live with, but he's comfortable with that name.
There's people out there with last names like Ramsbottom, so it's like
that's right.
You got to live with the hand life deals you a little bit.
And my good friend in Denmark, Grandmaster Karsten Hoy, also has a rather unfortunate name in Russian. Just the fact that I said Karsten Hoy is that we're going to be censored in Russia.
Well, ignorance is bliss on my end. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
And Nikita Vitigov is playing against Daniel Friedman.
That is going to be a battle.
Which is Anna Zatomsky's husband, I think.
Yes, I believe you are correct. And is that the same Friedman? Yeah, they're living in, drawing a blank out, Germany, I think. Actually, let me just take a quick peek. Yes, he is representing Germany.
That's the German flag. Yeah.
She just won the Karen's Cup, right? Anna Zatomsky. So very good success. the Cairns Cup. It was an 8-player round robin. As it turns out, because Humpy Konaru dropped out in the last minute, but there are some special exemptions for achieving norms for Anna Zatonsk for her to get her norm possibility. If a player drops out like Humpy Konaru, she still has to make her, I'm not sure if it's what number of norm it is, but she's working on her GM/IM title, not just her WGM title. Nicholas Huschenbeth. I have to say, this German Grandmaster has impressed me since he wrote a book prior to his Chessable course, mind you, because he has a great Chessable course out from what I recall. He also wrote a book on the Carlsen Caruana World Championship match, which I devoured, and I did not realize how strong he was. It's unfortunate that he does most of his streams in German. Otherwise, I would probably listen to him more, or I have to just plain learn German. He's playing aspiring Grandmaster David Navarra, who's also a frequent Perpetual Chess podcast guest. And of course, lastly, Nakamura is coming in against Karthik and to do battle. Literally, he is getting married, and then he's not taking any time off to jump into the fray of the World Cup, and I wish him the best. Pragananda, another fan favorite, who comes in playing Maxime Lagarde, who is 2000 French champion, Grandmaster of Maxime Lagarde. David, did you have anyone else notable that we should probably... Dmitry Kolars versus Ponomarev. I mentioned with fondness Ruslan following me on Twitter. I have the same name, Master Chess Dojo, on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff. But I give him a lot of credibility for following me before anybody else. He's the first world champion to follow. He's a world champion. Kwang Liam versus Ivanisevic, the Serbian chess champion of many times Serbian chess champion. I suppose we should also talk about what's happening in the women. Humpy Konaru coming into bye. Zhu Wenjun.
And there was a potential upset on the women World Cup. Milia Salome, she lost the first game and she won the second game, but it was like she was losing.
Right, to the Brazilian Kathy Liberato. Kathy Liberato. Good job.
They're gonna play tie breaks now, and we'll see who goes through. But anything can happen.
And then they'll be on to play Anna Yushinina, former women's world chess champion, who in the top 25, the women had 25 buys, so she was the 24th seeded player. Anna Musicek is coming in against another relatively strong player, Diamante Corniet. Dulete. Oh man, we shouldn't even try these. But the wife of French Grandmaster Matthew Cornet, she's relocated, as I think David pointed out, that she's relocated from Lithuania to France. I thought her name looked very French rather than Lithuanian.
Oh, Irina Krush also has a pairing which is, seems to be like
Canadian chess women's grandmaster.
Sort of.
Yeah, Miley Jade Yade Oulet. Oh man, we're going to get it for these pronunciations. We should probably try not to do this. We should work on this before. Katerina Lotto has always been a favorite of mine. Unfortunately, not necessarily for all the right reasons to a great extent. She was actually born in the Ukraine, and she moved or emigrated to Russia because she had some problems with the coaching of the Ukrainian women's team. So she switched federations to Russia about 5 or 8 years ago.
That's a lateral move right there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be approved of lately, that's for certain. But isn't it interesting that we're still putting down RUS instead of FIDE behind their names to a certain extent, even though they're playing under the FIDE flag?
You know, it's nowadays on Twitter, on chess.com, they've got a little just a little grayish plaque where the flag should be. And then you go and then you hover your mouse over and it says, see our stance on the Ukraine war. And seeing as the Ukrainian flag is just the Ukrainian flag, you can kind of guess. You can kind of guess who it is. So, you know.
Exactly.
I think we can assume anybody under the FIDE flag is Russian.
Absolutely. I was rather sad to see Janelle May Freya, who's a very popular Philippine YouTube streamer, not make it through the first round. She had a tight-knit match with Medina Olia from Indonesia. And she had good chances, I think, in that match, but unfortunately, she was just squeezed out of the competition. But all of the losers for the first round are guaranteed a prize of $3,000 to pay for their expenses for the open men's section. Do we know what the prizes are for the women?
For the women's section, it's 2,000, I think.
750, it says. 39 times 3,750 US dollars. So it was 3,000 euro for the men.
And 2,000 something for the women.
Interesting. 2,000
Well,
euro.
it's for the open section. It's not men's section. It's open section.
Right.
But yeah.
So interestingly enough, wait a minute. Who did I see there was going to be playing Caruana?
Okay.
Okay.
Many years ago, the U.S. Chess Federation had I should say the U.S. Championship when it was sponsored by Microsoft in the early 2000s. I think it was, I don't know if it was 1999, but definitely 2000, 2001. Microsoft actually was sponsored the U.S. Championship, and they made it a Swiss tournament, 9 rounds, the top 64 players. And then I think they invited the top 50 men and the top 14 women to play in the same section. And the year that I was there in early 2001, I believe it was, I was coaching young FIDE master Donnie Ariel, and Jennifer Shahade was on the stage in the top 4 boards of the U.S. Championship playing against the men frequently as she won the U.S. Women's Championship when she had to play against the men. And it was a great round robin. And that tournament also had a bulk prize fund where those players that finished, let's just say, in the bottom third of the tournament would receive enough prize money to pay for their hotel and expenses for 10 days. So I don't know that it wasn't like a $2,000 prize to finish in the bottom of the U.S. Championship of a 64-player Swiss. And I enjoyed those days, and I thought the women would get even more out of it by having to just be the top woman standing. And of course, they had a playoff for tiebreak, but Jennifer Shahade did not need it, as she dominated the competition beginning to end. And I was very proud of her and proud to be there. As I remember, we experienced the rolling hills of Seattle, going out to dinner and all of that, bringing back some memories for the most part. Needless to say, this prize structure where the last place finishers get prize money supersedes having to provide appearance fees and all of that. It's quite novel.
So, John, in theory or in practice, are you in favor for the women's chess prizes to be the same as the men's? Just a bit of parity.
I absolutely feel that they should be the same. Interestingly enough, looking at the prize money that I see in front of me, it is the men are going to have 78 players eliminated, and each of those 78 players is getting 3,000 US dollars according to this. I'm not sure about the conversion ratio. And the first place, of course, is $110,000. While in the women, 39 women are actually going to be eliminated with a first place prize with an elimination prize of $37.50. I feel like that's quite incredible that the women at the bottom are actually going to get more money than the men. There has to be a typo here.
No. The women's section, they're gonna get less money. I was watching on the official FIDE broadcast, and
so it might be 27.
Would you go for a system that maybe aggregates all the ratings, gives the average prize based on that,
based on rating performance?
So that the 2700s, because you've got to allow for a little bit of talent difference there as well, because you want to get a good draw for the tournament. But you've also got to try and be fair. So the thing to do would be to grab all the aggregate rating of the men versus the women, and then give it based on that. So it's based more on performance than category.
The World Cup seems to have solved this problem by seeding the top 25 and the top 50 into the second round, so they're guaranteed a minimum of, let's say, $5,000. Rather than being eliminated in the first round and achieving only like $3,000 or $27.50. But the men that are eliminated in the second round are achieving $6,000. So if Magnus Carlsen gets eliminated by Aryan Tari, at least he will have $6,000 to cover his expenses. But in the old days, Rogan, this would always be accommodated by a little bit of a behind-the-scenes payment of an appearance fee. So if your rating was over a certain amount and you wanted them to show up at a tournament, you literally had to pay them a certain amount in addition to their, to cover their expenses before they even had to rely on prize money. Most of Europe's tournament prize money is not that large compared to the United States. I believe someone recently in another podcast, the C Squared podcast, maybe earlier in the month, Christian was commenting to Fabiano how shocked he was that in the United States you have to bring your own chess sets, literally, because the organizers don't provide chess sets or clocks. So you have to provide your own chess set and clock, even as a grandmaster. You have to show up with a clock, set up your own pieces, for Christ's sakes. And this doesn't happen in Europe. But on the other hand, the prizes in the US draw those players in, whereas in Europe, the prizes are not always as large. But as you pointed out, the players of the much higher ratings get a little bit of an appearance fee behind the scenes for just putting their name on the roster so that the other players will show up. I'm quite hoping that David Howell does well in the World Cup as well. He's had a little bit of a surge, I think, in the previous tournament appearances, so he could be on his game at this point. Let's cross our fingers for him in the coming days. Segging from the World Cup into
already?
Well, back to
okay. Let us segue into our next news story. That I found of interest when I was doing some research for Chess News of the Week. An Iranian chess player who competed without a hijab is granted Spanish nationality. So the story goes, an Iranian chess player who was competing in an international tournament without a hijab has been granted Spanish citizenship, like I said before. And Sara, I'm not going to even try the last and the second name.
Khadem.
Okay.
Short form is just Khadem.
Okay. She's also got a longer version of her name, but if I couldn't get the first one, I won't get the second one. She drew the ire of the Iranian government after she was pictured at the FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships in Kazakhstan last December. Important to note that Iran is not Kazakhstan. And so the Iranian officials issued a arrest warrant. As things go, it might be a little bit of a step up. Then it's a little bit of
couldn't return home after that. After the arrest warrant, she's not going home.
Yeah, and she's not the first one to leave Iran, the first chess player to leave Iran. We have also Ali Reza, which was from Iran, I think.
That's right.
And he moved to France. So now, it just proves that something is wrong. And
they're doing a very good job of giving other countries their best chess players.
It's probably not just chess players, probably just like
general intellectual. Anyone who can lead.
Tusa, Hikaru's new partner, is also from Iran. So I'm very proud of her for having come to the United States and made a new life for herself. Los Angeles chess community as an instructor. So we're going to hear a lot more about this, I'm sure.
An unfortunately totalitarian government driving away their intellectual future by being, totalitarian. Indeed. Very sad. That sounded a lot more brutal than I meant to make it sound. It is sad, I'm just tired.
Well, it's even. I think they've. I don't know if they've eased up their laws wearing the hijab since the young lady who's about 22 years old died at the hands of the police, and the rioting and the protests that ensued afterwards, because I think it was Masa Amini was succumbed to the morality police of all things. It's like, because you're not obeying your religious law, it's one of those religious law type countries, unfortunately, that you have to
theocracy.
A theocracy, yes. You have to wear your hijab. And basically, it's all comes down to whether or not you can trust the men to behave like gentlemen and the women to behave like, women. I don't necessarily know what the impossible logic is behind this, except to curb the fact that they're trying to keep the women from looking like women, or at least trying to keep the theoretical ideas that they're trying to keep men from being tempted.
Yeah. I mean,
by the
that
attractiveness of
sounds like a
women.
men problem more than a woman
Right?
problem. To be fair,
Like
I
the
mean,
men
if you
can't
you
be
know,
trusted. They're
yeah,
savages.
if you've got to take such harsh measures in order to stop people from doing something, I don't believe it's the woman's fault in that one. I know, hot take. I mean, I'm just something breaker, you know.
So that
But
one
anyway,
should draw the ire of many.
I do think the important part of this is realizing that she was in a completely different country, and while it's I don't believe it's the government's any government's thing to enforce their moral laws in another country. So I don't know. That's
Exactly.
I don't think they
I think
care
that's the
though.
main point here in this really, but
But the thing is, she's in another country and she's representing Iran, and she's not wearing the hijab, so they get mad.
well, that is true, I guess. I mean, there
So,
is that is an angle I did not quite look into there.
but she has every right to do whatever she wants.
Yeah, bodily autonomy. That is quite true. Okie dokie. Now on to the next story of the day. What is the next story of the day, David?
I believe chess.com was
It's
attacked.
Pogchamps.
Oh, before we head
Yeah.
into that, I think we were going to get the DDoS attacks on chess.com in advance of the Pogchamps. I think for 3 days from July 22nd to 25th, I remember getting on Twitch and seeing some of the streamers having difficulty getting on to chess.com because of these malicious attacks by hackers.
Not to sound like an angry man, I think chess.com can do a good enough job of wrecking their own servers without the hackers' help. But no,
That's
chess.com
usually
had
my
this little
line
problem.
there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're swapping places here, John. I'm the angry man here, and you can calm down, Rogan. But you can placate me. But no, yes, DDoS is a distribute denial of service, which basically it basically maliciously stress tests a website with either vast amounts of false traffic
and data
or corrupted
false data.
or corrupted data. I don't know why somebody would try and hack chess.com. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any immediate party to benefit, but I suppose it is easy enough to do. So anyone
I
with a
really
grudge
want
can go ahead.
to watch the French video series that Tatev Abrahamian did.
Oh, really? Tatev?
Yeah.
Tatev Abraman?
Yeah.
She did that in French?
Yeah, she did a French video series, but it's really old. It's from like 2012.
About DDoS attacks or?
No, just French, the opening. It was a joke.
Oh, about the French. Got it.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, you're gonna have to link these two for me, mate. I'm not quite seeing the connection. But yeah, so it's probably just somebody getting annoyed that they have to watch a streamer blunder mating 7 times.
I have accidentally incurred my own self-inflicted DDoS attack recently. I think toward the end of the school year last year, I had, and this could have been easily accidental, basically, where if you have an extension in Chrome, which is constantly checking data, such as I had an extension in Chrome where I could constantly check on whether or not my students had done their homework or played their games the evening before, right?
Yeah.
And I had
like a bit of casual spying.
No, but basically it would just report back that this person has played X number of games in the last 24 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's just say you accidentally set that or you don't set it for the right interval. And now imagine that it's checking on, let's say I follow approximately 400 students. I have no follows left on Lichess, for example. And I have to unfollow someone in order to follow someone. And Lichess constantly reminds me that I'm at my limit of being able to follow chess players or grandmasters or even students. So if I'm following
that's what those free servers get you.
Students, and if I were on chess.com often enough, I would probably be following more or friends with more. But in general, now imagine that I am checking the status of 400 students every 3 to 10 minutes. And now I've created an unusual amount of site traffic, which Lichess actually did not allow this, by the way. Lichess shut me out. I was more or less banned from Lichess for a period of time because of this DDoS attack. I don't know if you remember it, but I was getting the reconnecting message. And I thought it was someone attacking me. But in turn, when I contacted Lichess, they let me know about the traffic that was being generated from mine. So they immediately shut me down from being able to access that data. So they immediately cut me off.
We don't have that sort of cash to throw around. Come on, John.
No, they literally wouldn't let me access the data. So therefore, when I was streaming and I switched, let's just say from the Chrome browser to the Bravo browser, I had Bravo set up because it's a much lighter weight browser for Lichess. Then, of course, I didn't have that problem. So I wasn't shut out of Lichess on the Bravo browser. I could actually do my morning streams on Lichess from a different browser because I wasn't generating as much traffic from the Chrome extension. The Chrome extension itself was what was keeping me from streaming on Lichess using Chrome. So once I determined this, one of the IT professionals at Columbia Grammar came and told me about my extension, and I immediately removed the extension that was the problem, and I haven't had a problem since. So every now and then, if you take a third-party extension, you put it on Microsoft Edge or on Chrome, and you start generating traffic, you will create your own form of a direct denial of service attack. Distributed denial of service attack, just because that extension has to access the site on a regular basis in a repeated fashion. For me, it was 400 students being so. I'm happy that chess.com has taken care of it, and they're on the ball as they usually are with their system improvements.
Yeah, Chess.com's always on it, man. I've never had a server failure outside of a hack or anything. And
especially an advent of Pogchamps, and we were just as David was bringing that in to the fold. David?
Pogchamps is happening, the 5th edition, and I don't know if you guys have been following it.
I'm very excited for it, especially this time around.
I haven't been following it.
Yeah,
I'm very excited because I was in Paris for TwitchCon when aka Nemsco was talking Ginny, aka Ginny TTY, one of the most popular Twitch streamers. She came to the chess.com booth, and she got a mini chess lesson from Nemo, and we should see some YouTube content. And this was a little over or about a month ago. And as it turns out, Nemo was talking to her about the possibility of her being in Pogchamps 5. And here we are, as she is going to be in Pogchamps 5 along with Tyler 1, XQC, QT Cinderella, and Sakuno. Last time I saw Sakuno, he was in Among Us with Hafu. And I'm trying to remember how long ago that was. It was sometime post-COVID, when Among Us was, or just toward the end of COVID, when Among Us was very popular. Anyone else in that?
It's an interesting event that will start drawing more people to play chess.
Squeeze, yeah, just the average person who happens to be in the public eye, such as Squeeze or Tyler 1, who many popular YouTube streamers, and of course Jarvis. I don't know if this is Jarvis has the best name to me, but I'm looking forward to some of these interesting names, basically like Tyler 1 I just mentioned, and get people to watch that. I mean, we're talking about the overall general population. Instead, we have Twitch celebrities, albeit beloved Twitch celebrities, that appeal to a certain generational audience, and a very small generational audience at that. It's going to be quite interesting.
Well, I think it's a very calculated bet from the chess.com marketing team, because I don't think they have unlimited resources, and they have to go after people they can feasibly get. And
but there are a lot of B-list celebrities out there.
Yeah, I know, but what's the difference between a B-list celebrity and somebody with already? The thing about these streamers is that they're communicating with other streamers. That's almost the whole premise, and you're getting chess.com streamers with non-chess streamers with chess streamers. And the thing is, you've got an established draw there, haven't you? You're drawing from a very, very similar audience, and I don't think you could get
absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't think you could get any B-list celebrity and get the same draw. I mean, without making a bet with money that you might,
You're right.
Might not have. If I
In
was a
case
marketing
anybody
team,
doesn't know what a B-list celebrity is, all you have to do is look at Dancing with the Stars or programs like that, because those guys
reality
can only
TV.
get reality TV, competitive reality TV. Dancing with the Stars, or So You Think You Can Dance. Usually a B-list celebrity try to let people know that they're still alive.
Yeah, I haven't died yet.
As dance partners. My favorite encounter with a not quite B-list celebrity, bridging the gap from The Godfather, as I was crossing 58th and 6th Avenue one afternoon with my lunch with a good friend of mine, George, one of my great friends. He's a lovely fellow. Miss him dearly. George and I are crossing the street, and he says to me something along the lines of, John, I believe that we are walking behind Abe Vigoda from The Godfather, the original. And I said to him, don't be ridiculous. Abe Vigoda's dead, which there is a website back basically about Abe Vigoda, is Abe Vigoda dead or some of those lines. And at this moment, Abe Vigoda, who's walking in front of me, a very, very elderly gentleman, but obviously kind, turns around and looks me square in the face. And I say to him, of course, I could be wrong. And he turns and walks off. And I'm like, I really stepped in it. And George can't contain himself cracking up next to me because I said Abe Vigoda's dead basically to the guy standing next to me. And I felt terrible about that. But eventually, of course, as we know, the dear, beloved Godfather star Abe Vigoda is no longer with us. God rest him.
And he's behind you. No.
He's everywhere at this moment.
Yeah, he's universal now. He's with the clouds. Okay. So we were talking about Pogchamps, and generally I'm not following Pogchamps for a very, very simple reason. I have a shit sleep schedule. But apart from that, I'm also not following it because I'm not amazingly interested in it. Now that's because I'm a cynical human, but I do love what it does for chess generally. But I'm not a big fan of. I'm really not a big fan of bright and shiny things, for too long. That's generally why, I'm not a big fan of it right now. I mean, just for personal entertainment, watching purpose, and, there's 5 iterations. Nobody asked for sequel.
No, I was very impressed with the concept of getting people in the public eye. I agree that these are professional online gamers. Interested in improving at chess, or at least trying to improve at chess in a competitive environment that will be entertaining to the public, especially to their followers. You pointed out they have a huge following, whether it's Sakuno or Squeeze or Jarvis or Ginny TTY. This afternoon, before our podcast, I actually saw Ginny TTY trying to remember her chess.com podcast password on stream. She sort of asks her chat, what is my chess.com password again? I thought it was rather rhetorical until I realized she did forget it. She had to have it emailed to herself or reset. And then she immediately, while she's waiting for the email reset, she goes on YouTube to how to learn chess really, really fast. She starts watching videos on her stream and getting advice from her chat on how to become better at chess really, really fast. And I have to commend AK and Nemsko for getting her into this cycle, as I said before, from TwitchCon. It's quite crazy.
I do only have one
did a great job.
One small point before I think we need to let Chess Chopin say something, because 1/7 of our audience really loves Chess Chopin a lot. And that's the 3.
Yeah, I don't know why.
There you go. And we gotta let him have a good unbroken 5 minutes. My only real point with that is my only point is with this Pogchamps thing. If I really you can really see the difference when a streamer is trying to actually get better at chess versus somebody got an email, they picked it up and decided it was a fun thing to do. I really think there's you can obviously see a passion difference between 2 different sets of people. One person will be actually really, really, really trying, and then the other person will be kind of treating half like a joke. I mean, which I'm not a big fan of. But
yeah, that's the topic I wanted to talk about. What drives people to improve at chess? How does one get the motivation? I mean, personally, I'm not very motivated to actually learn chess and play chess most of the time.